cast. So today we will be spectating Xcode, Tyrion, Robie, and Aviator. So this is the first daily cast after the Master Cup. So no daily cast were uploaded during the Master Cup because yeah, I was doing the casting as well. So I hope you understand. But we are back here for more action, and we have agreed on everybody. All right, so it's only a question of what are the starts. We have a Fire Elemental start from X-God, Bounty Hunter start from Tyrion, Robie going for a Growl start. That will turn out to be a 5-worker Fire Lord, I presume, and a Ward plus Devilfish on Aviator. Alright, so now that we have that covered, yeah, we might see some worker push here because we did also receive 20 on 1 from everybody, all King Ups. So Tyrion might be pushing that extra worker. And yes, he does. And Robie does not though. So Robie's staying 4 workers, so possibly going for the bunk instead. A 4-worker bunk. So this might turn out to be quite interesting because the bunk is always a little bit easier to maneuver around. So you do your bunk, you do your growl on wave 5, and then you go for your Fire Lord. You bait Descent on 6, and you're good to go. Um, yeah, so no extra units from Aviator. He does have the Warg and the Devilfish, so perfectly fine on that wave. Then you will see him go for the Seraphim instead of the Devilfish here, and probably have a split here. I'm not quite sure how he will do it, if it is with an Atom or something like that. And we do have a 6-worker Fire Elemental here from X-God. That is quite risky with the recent nerf of Fire Elemental. So he's quite reliant on getting that 40 before income, and he does not, and so he will be leaking. That is for sure, unless there's a trick with Pee-wee that I do not know. Because they are 2 snails, but not more than that. So 2 snails might still be okay. We will see, we will see. So it might result into a small leak, but if it is a small leak, it's perfectly fine for Tyrion. He will be able to catch the leaks with some more stacks on his Bounty Hunter. So let's see how we do. The 40 onto Aviator. We did have the split here, but only with a Polywog. The Ward to prepare for 4. And then you have the Seraphim tanking a little bit. So that's perfect aggro for him. Alright. And what about X-God? It will indeed be a very small leak. Yeah, a very small leak from X-God. So the 6-worker does work out in the end. The fast wave did not affect him too much. Either leaking a little bit here, but that's nothing. And so we have both X-God and Aviator both as 6-worker, but X-God was saving here. He did not send every of his gold, every single bit of his Mythium. Tyrion going for more income, going to 7 workers, quite surprising here. With his build, 7 worker has to be something quite risky. I mean, he is susceptible to a leak here, to a resend, but Robie does not seem to be resending here. So we might see him still be fine. And Tyrion going full send here, 60 from the 40 previously. That might hurt Aviator a little bit because the 2 wargs does not have that much damage. And the Devilfish is attacking the Dragon Turtle, so this will be a leak and a massive one from Aviator. If we look at the 7-worker of Tyrion, does not look too bad here. He will be holding here. But he would have been very dead to a recent here. Aviator is also leaking here, as we predicted, because of the DT in the split and the Devilfish attacking the DT. Not the best targeting. This does give more gold to Robie, so let's see what he decides to do with it. And X-God is still saving and will now go for the imps. So we did have also a treasure hunt on Robie. We'll probably have a growl here, exactly. So the imps should not be that much of an issue for Robie here with that build, but we might still be surprised. So we do have incomes from both Robie and Aviator. Tyrion going for income as well. Let's see if that butcher is enough to save him here, because this was quite an aggressive push from him. And Exot does have the pilgrim here, so he should be fine as well. He has a decent thinking, but now, oh wait, the desert pilgrim is not full thinking and does not get another eel, and the fire elemental is not targeted. That would be a leak here from Exot if I read that correctly. Yes, but not a massive one, so I think he will be fine with that. I think it's only the dino. It is a leak, but not a massive one. The Robie, oh, the imps was enough here against Robie. And that's part of the reason why is that he did for the pack rat. He did treasure hunt, so that's quite surprising in the end. After this long of a save, normally you don't want to, especially when you kind of expect five or like 5 or 6 are kind of to be expected against the bunk. So knowing that you haven't got sent before that was a questionable decision, but they were all low creeps, and so it's not much king damage in the end. X-God did long save for that, but Robie is the one falling behind in the end because he wants to go for the Fire Lord here. He's gonna sell the Grawl. No, shying away from the Fire Lord, uh, not really expecting too much pressure from X-God here, but he does receive the Brute paired with a Snail. Yes. Is this enough to kill the bunk? I do not think so. It all depends on how much goes onto the Grawl and how much goes onto the pack rat. So we did have income also on Tyrion and Aviator. Just to scale a little bit, they are still putting out a lot of workers, but Tyrion is the one the furthest ahead with the Bounty Hunter, which is quite surprising. Here we do have the bunk dying, but the Grawl is still alive, the pack rat is still alive. X-God leaking 100% here. Over pushed, possibly. But Tyrion is holding the incomes in here from Robie, and he does not shy away from the push here. 11 workers. He is susceptible to a resend here, so we'll need to keep in mind that. Robie does not look like in a position to send quite a lot on wave 7 though, but the wave is long, so anything can happen. So X-God pretty safe on 7 and 8, and 9 because of it becomes an issue. Tyrion does get a pack leader, and wait, he has enough gold to be overvalued here? So it has to be a veteran, yes, and probably a boost. No, an extra angler, so no boost, and just feeling confident on his front line. And I wouldn't blame him here. I think he has a decent chance of holding anything here. And Exile only comes for income, so it's all a question of how well the Aviator can deal with that, because he does not have the best damage or the best tank for that. I mean, yes, Badger is quite good, but with the extra damage given from that pack leader, it's a bit questionable if he's able to hold that. The bunk should be enough on the part of Robie to hold paired with the APS, so something good here on their side. He's pushing to 11 workers, and Aviator leaking 88% here. I mean, it was 100% on previous wave from X-God, so I think it evens out, but the problem is that this is king damage. So more gold towards X-God and Tyrion because of that. But Tyrion is leaking, a little bit punished here by his extra push. So finally some redemption here for Aviator. And now, do they resend again? Because Bounty Hunter is not the greatest on wave 8. Do they read that? Because it's kind of easy to get the Kingpin on wave 9. Especially if you are not tested if you do the shift on wave 8. So that's what they decide to do. and income from Exile and Tyrion. So income, but not on the side I expected. So let's see, we do have here the Radiant Halo to prepare for Wave 10. And overall, I think those scents should be held, but we can always be surprised. That is for sure. It all depends if they go full or just decide to save. And Robie and Aviator not going here. Okay, so Tyrion going full and Xcode going full as well. So let's see if they catch them greeting. Aviator is overvalued. Decent frontline. Now has an extra item. So should be doing okay here. What about the bunk here? The bunk dying very fast. The Grawl not giving anything of value. The treasure hunt hurting him a little bit. And this will be a leak on Robie. But he keeps pushing those workers, so he keeps the pressure on despite doing the treasure hunts. So a 50% leak will not be fully held in the middle by Aviator, but partially at least. Do they go... Alright, so now the question is, do they go 9 or do they go 10? 10 would open up for the enemy to go venture, that is for sure. But sometime going venture could be a bait, and they do skip wave 9. So let's see, we do have the Kingpin here. The Kingpin is only 100 stack. It is up front, so this means that it will be targeted early on the boss wave. Not a lot of thing that is good on wave 10 here on Next God, so I do believe Robie and Aviator will decide to go on wave 10 here. Now it's just all about sending the right thing. Probably an Ogre towards X-God should be the better play. But let's see. Do they decide to go here? I mean, Robie and Aviator do have the worker lead. X-God is stuck at 9 workers. He is overvalued here, but not a lot of his value is of interest on wave 10. Tyrion going for income on wave 10. So feeling the pressure, X-God will decide to go for income here. Alright, we have the Centaur here from Robie. Not quite sure if it is the right choice here. Because the Centaur is no longer tanking for those KP. And that's another KP here. So I would have much preferred to see like mass frontline to delay the Kingpin to the boss. But let's see. Let's see how the Centaur does here. I mean, the Centaur arriving later might be pushed towards the Kingpin if he has the Snail here from Robie. And we do have the Snail, so this will be interesting to see how this goes. We do have income sense on from X-God and Tyrion as well. This should be easily held by both Robie and Aviator. Yeah, they're close to value, but same for X-God and Tyrion, they do have a lot of value as well. Oh, the Centaur is tanking at least one of the KP. So this is a very good to make him leak. And it will indeed be a leak from the Kingpin, but not a leak from X-God. What was the scent here? Not really sure I agree with that kind of scent here from Aviator. I think Ogre was way more value onto that because it survives longer to the spread damage of the Trinity Archer. But no matter, X-God was forced to stay 9 workers during that time. So reduce the pressure, but there should be ventures all around now. Robie going for venture, Tyrion going for venture, X-God going for venture. But Tyrion is also pushing a lot of workers on top of that venture. He is quite vulnerable on 13 despite the venture, without having much answers for it. Same for X-God, so do Aviator and Robie spot that? But wait, this is... Yeah, okay, so this is a venture as well on Aviator, just didn't see it. And we have a total of 3 worker lead from Tyrion and X-God, and those 3 workers are all on Tyrion due to the Kingpins. Now, wave 13 easily covered by Robie, especially with the venture coming in. Okay, so they do decide to go for income on wave 12, while Exxon and Tyrion will probably skip and go for a long save, forcing them to go for income king up at one point. So this is normally the play you do when you're against a venture. You want to try and punish it on wave 12. I mean, the kingpins are not that strong here, so they are susceptible to leaking, but X-God is not leaking here anytime soon. Pretty sure of that. I mean, X-God will be the one to prove me wrong, if anything. But the Pilgrim buff onto the Antler should secure the hold here from X-God. Alright, so income king up from Robie and Aviator. Doubling down on the venture, but this means that Tyrion and X-God will be pushing very hard here. So let's see how they do. The kingpins are with life steal, so they should be doing pretty good despite having low stacks. Quite susceptible on wave 15 though, so let's see if 15 should be the point of interest of all the players. We have X-God holding, and we do have Tyrion also holding, and the push is coming from X-God and Tyrion as well. Will it be a full push to 14 to protect their weaker wave 15? That could be a thing because we have the Hades here from Aviator and the Phoenix from Robie. And Tyrion did full push here. Well, no, he did not full push yet, but he's still at 26 worker. He is 248 undervalue. What is his next move? Alright, Tyrion did reroll. He did have a very good reroll with Fire Lord and Bunk for the higher end units. And the rest was pushed by Tyrion. Alright, so the Sands on 14 are coming. The full push did come. So we should see some income king ups from Robie and Aviator to try and protect themselves, or full king. Depends on what they favor here. It will be 340 Sand right now before income, and wait, that's 440 on both right now, sorry. The Sand will be higher on to Aviator. We do have the Iron Scale coming in for him. And, ooh, Robie overvalued here, or on value should I say, so not looking too bad for him, but he does have a King Claw here, which is not ideal, as well as a Growl. So a lot of dead value, but he is still close to value. So that is something that is always very interesting to see. But let's see how they do with those massive sends. And there were no king ups here from Aviator and Robie, so they feel confident they will be able to hold here. And I will be quite interested to see how it goes as well. So the Thanatos, one of those are dead, 2 Thanatos are out. And Robie will be leaking, but the leak is not too bad. Well, not too bad. We say 2 larvas with the Sen. And Aviator is a different story. Much bigger Sen here, and maybe that is enough. Depends on how fast this is getting targeted. No king spell, 2 king attack. Let's see how it goes. 4i is down, but there are still a lot of units remaining. The witch is down, and yeah, there is too much larva for the king to handle here, and so it will be game for X-God and Tyrion. Very well played with the venture play here. And going for a 14 sen after a full push after the 12 sen of Robie and Aviator. I mean, the fact that Tyrion was able to get the Kingpin out of nowhere here was crucial for them. because this would have leaked way harder for Tyrion if he didn't get that. But the sand here from Aviator could have been a bit better against X-God. But I'm not quite confident that the Ogre was the solution to everything, of course. It's always quite hard to see what is the correct send. But from that point, this game is pretty starved, so this means that you normally say to yourself, okay, if we send you here and you venture, you're probably weak on wave 12, which was not the case here in the end. And so this means that it was a bit of a missed opportunity to force the send on. Uh, well, not 13 because well, it's venture, and we did have a reroll for Tyrion that allowed him to get a Phoenix as well if they decided to save. But they could have matched on 14. Yes, it's not ideal, but at least they receive a smaller sand. But it is always very hard to judge this. But Robie maybe too confident on his value here. Should have expected the bigger sand, and also his value is pretty much all bad on that wave. And Aviator was quite behind as well. He did have a good tank, but no good damage for that wave. So I think, a little bit overzealous from Robie and Aviator if they do decide to go income king upon 14, match them and go further away, further into the game. They will be in a position to catch back up. So those small details are always important to note. But yeah, very well played by Cod and Tyrion to play around the venture. And on that, I'm going to say thank you for watching and see you next time.